Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one and all to the Inter Community Showdown. My name's been Sapsford here with GRDC, but we are having a very special race tonight because it's not just GRDC, is it? Let's be honest. It's GRDC versus DGSR. I'm going to try my best to not get the letters mixed up and not to rearrange them in any way, but I make no promises. Yep, it's a Global Racing Drivers Club versus Dads Go Sim Racing tonight, and it's going to be a fun one. It's a 3-class brawl. It's a 3-class race out here tonight at Le Mans, but let's not waste too much time. Let's talk about how this is going to run, and let's talk about how this is going to go. First off, if you want to get involved with these kind of events yourself, by all means check out both GRDC and DGSR as well, because both really great communities and both places where you want to be if you want to get involved with sim racing, if you want to get involved with Le Mans Ultimate specifically. Really good places to go, really good communities. And I say massive thanks for DGSR being willing to sort of have a bit of fun with us folks over at GRDC. Hopefully we've got a pretty good race lined up. So we have 3 classes tonight. We have ourselves a pretty spicy one. We have got hypercars, we have got LMGT3s, and we have got LMP2s as well. There's going to be a real brawl out there on the course because we are at Le Mans, as mentioned, and we're going to take a little bit of a peek and see some friendly faces and friendly names here, as everyone is now just finishing up their practice session. We're going to waste zero time. We're going to get straight into it, folks. So looking at the field right now, currently on track at the very least. You've only got about 15 cars on track, but we have 31 entrants spanning the 2 communities and 3 classes. So let's take a little look at some of the gaps and some of the timings. So it is going to be Philip Schleeting leading practice in the Ferrari 499P, and then you have in the lead of the LMP2s, that is Thomas Lovrek. Just coming through the number 397. I believe that is the Orica, but correct me if I'm wrong here. The Orica or maybe a Ligier? Maybe getting mixed up on names. If chat is welcome to correct me, please do so. Rather be corrected than get it wrong. Lovrek is coming through now. And then in the LMGT3s, although in the pits right now, the fastest is going to be Hendrik de Vries. Practice isn't always the biggest indicator of pace. I think we will see those positions change up in a big way. But we'll have to wait and find out. Now, this is going to be aggregate scoring between the 2 communities, and how it's going to work is, of the 3 classes, to make sure that it's nice and fair, everyone is going to be getting a shot at points relative to the number of drivers in their class. So if you're looking at the hypercars, for example, because we currently have 9 hypercars on track, the top 3 will be the ones that score points. If you're in with the LMP2s, then the top 2 will be the ones to score points, as we have 6 LMP2 drivers out on the circuit today. And then the top 10 for the LMGT3s, as we do have a fair bit more of those adorning the grid. Do believe we have 16 out there today. So LMGT3 a little bit more forgiving on the points, and then we will see who can make the most of their class. Of course, the stiffer competition in your specific group, try to balance it out, make it as fair as possible. But 3 minutes to go left on practice, and then we will get started on qualifying. Now, if there is anyone in the chat right now, of course, let us know who you're rooting for. Are you on, say, Team GRDC? Are you on Team DGSR? Whose side are you on? Let us know in that chat, as always. We're going to have a 10-minute qualifying here, so almost Hyperpole style. And that is going to be a pretty fun time before we have a 75-minute race beginning at 9:10 PM. Although we'll be slightly later, just a couple of minutes either side on the practice, and then we'll be getting through. So we will have open setup as well. Drivers are free to set up as they wish. Do have a bit of flexibility with their cars here. Standard fuel, standard tyre wear, no major changes there in terms of the balance and load levels. Tyre warmers are off though, and we are being foretold at least as 27 degrees with cloud cover. So it will be of the utmost importance that drivers manage their race effectively. Of course, they will have to pit in at some points, but they do have to play the timing. And you want to make sure that you don't get too bogged down in traffic, because 75 minutes is a long time. We'll lose several seconds, and that could be the difference in a position. We're just on board with Ben Rees right now in the Porsche 963. Starkey jump onto it also in the Porsche, looking very nice in the blue. Number 397 Porsche coming through. So all of the LMP2s are in the pits. We've got a few of the GT3 cars as well. That's Chris Wilson in the M4 making his way through now. Going to be a lot to keep an eye out on, and we are going to have, of course, those three group all fighting it out on the same track at the same time. So I'd be a little bit nervous if I was these racers, just as certainly on those first few laps. I would certainly be a bit nervous, but I don't think they need to be too worried after a few laps have gone through and after the dust has settled. Yeah, I say last couple of drivers getting some practice laps in so far. As we said, 325 coming from Schlichting hasn't been defeated so far. Oh, Alistair Ramsey, third in practice, but spinning out. Not looking too hot there. Sabre Wilson now in the M4 could have a chance here to really make a statement here in practice, but the time has fully elapsed now, so there's going to be Ben Rees now coming into the pits right on time. Starkey now making his way as we head through into the third sector. RB Michenzo as well in the Vantage. I've got to say, looking sharp in that Vantage right there. Is that almost, that looks custom. Is that custom? Ooh. Okay, we're going to have to keep an eye on that, aren't we? Okay, it's time, folks. We have qualifying about to get underway as we speak. You know the drill. Of course, if you do enjoy these streams, if you have been enjoying, whether you're a GRDC veteran, you've been with us for the World Sprint Championship, LMGT3 Challenge, and the Invitational, and you're joining us here tonight. First off, thank you. But also, if you have enjoyed those and you're enjoying this, do like the stream. It does help a lot. It means more than you know. If you're coming from DGSR and this is your first time seeing one of our broadcasts, welcome, welcome. Hope you make yourself right at home. And then if you are new here altogether, consider subscribing to the channel. We've got more coverage and more events like this on the pipeline and in the future. Whether that's regular championships or special events like this one. Either way, we are going to see a lot of the racers now make their way out onto their outlaps. And we'll see a few different racers have a chance at surprising us. We've got a few familiar names, certainly on the GRDC side. Say we've got Alexander Borgso, he's a name that springs to mind familiar. Say Jerome Mitral, I believe, is from DGSR. And I say, good pick with the Toyota. I'm personally quite a fan of the Toyota GR010. Seems to be a solid car, solid all-rounder. Really good at carrying pace when it comes to it. There, Alexandra Joncalve. And again, pronunciation of names, feel free to correct me at any point. Say in the LMP2. Keep it nice and smooth. These LMP2s, despite being a lower class, are still mighty rapid. So do not underestimate these machines. You have to be a little bit careful of the rear axle, but you do have a lot of power and a lot of speed. Once you load up those aero surfaces, you really can afford a lot of speed through some of these corners. You see Richard Cook, another LMP2 entrant on GRDC territory at least. But then we have a lot more cars, and some, interestingly, are in the pit lane. I'll say, it's nice to see the Lexus out there as well, of course, recently added. And beautiful sound this thing makes. Of course, it's getting on a little bit in terms of LMGT3 specification, but the BOP does still make it viable. And I will admit, if any have watched the previous broadcast that I've done on ACC and else, people will know that I have a bit of a soft spot for the Lexus. It's one of my favourites. Oh, what's happened to Starkey though? He seems like he stopped on one of the chicanes on the Mulsanne. It's still out laps, still time. But you're looking at really only about 2 laps, especially if you're in the LMGT3. Those things average about 4 minutes a lap. Hypercars are in the low 3s, and then the LMP2s are sort of around your 3-minute 30, 3-minute 40 mark, at least if the data from practice is anything to go by. We'll soon have drivers starting their laps out in full. Looks like Starkey has returned to the pit lane after that little issue that we saw previously. Matt Keys coming through in the Lexus, looking very nice with the black and yellow. And with a few red highlights mixed in there. This is where some in the live chat might be able to educate me. I'm seeing a lot with the number 397. If that is the case, are these custom liveries? Because I'm seeing a lot of 397 numbered cars. And at least on the telemetry side of things, they're all coming up as number 397, which I haven't seen prior to this update. So I've yet to do a full investigation onto the technicals, but if anyone does know, of course let us know. Anyway, we're going to get some of the laps started now. We're on board with Dan Wilson and immediately overcooking it on the chicane. Just too much speed there. Very overconfident in the Porsche. He's going to have to get round again. He's only going to have one more shot with the 10-minute qualifying timer. Meanwhile, Mitral in the Toyota. A little bit of a lock-up as we come to that banked left-hander. You can carry a good amount of speed, but it's not to be trifled with. See now, making his way onto the Mulsanne now. Unfortunately, we don't have on-boards working as intended, but we do still have this. Let's see the kind of speeds that he's going to be able to hit. As he's making his way down the straight now. 320, 330 kilometers an hour is going to be all the way up in 7th gear. He's really going to ride the limiter now as he jumps down on the brakes. First chicane. Still able to keep about 110, 120, but then on the power, nice and quick away. Really is going to be expending all that virtual energy. Going to pump everything into these straights. That high VMAX will certainly serve him well. He'll make up a lot of time, and in the race as well, he'll be able to overtake heading into these 2 chicanes and eventually to the end of the straight. Will be very useful. There, Mitral now going through the 2nd chicane. Very smoothly done here. Very smoothly done indeed. To say, looking like a 33 on the first sector. Now coming to the end of the 2nd sector. Of course, at the end of the straight, you've got that heavy braking zone. Now jumping on those brakes, easily going to be dropping down to 2nd, if not 3rd gear. It's 81.9 seconds. So Mitral's got the 2nd fastest first sector, only beaten out currently by Ben Rees, who's in the Porsche as we speak, coming to the end of Sector 2. Let's see what kind of times he can peel out. Oh, my mistake there. Actually, he's just coming through the chicane. So a little bit further back. Schleeting has got the best 2nd sector, and actually best 1st. So, bit of an update there. So, Schleeting in the 499P. Like with practice, seems to be the car to beat. But we're still going to remain committed with Mitral right here. All about modulating the throttle with this section. Don't go too aggressive. Don't jump on it too early. You'll kick the rear axle, or even just roll off the throttle a little bit through some of these corners. Too much, and you get some roll-off oversteer, or lift-off oversteer. But you can take a lot more speed than you think in some of these corners. Excellently demonstrated, Jerome. Smooth line through this sector here. It's a very flowing, but you have to set yourself up properly, and he's really riding that inside line. You can see so close to getting 2 wheels on the grass. Very clean run. Very clean line here now through final corners. Now let's see. Initial times on the board. Mitral is going to be, I think, our first time setter. What's it going to be? 328.996. Excellently done. Now starting the trend. Let's check in with Schleeting. Fastest sectors 1 and 2 is going to be our benchmark here. So the hypercars now making their way. So that's going to be the first LMP2 as well. Richard Cook, 339. Schleeting with a 325.7 here. So there is plenty of wiggle room here. Borgerson with a 3-minute 41. We're also going to see some of the LMGT3s now start to come through in a moment. Borgso with a 45.2, second in the LMP2 class. There's a few more racers are now going to start making their way. Ben Rees finishing his lap up here, looking good on a second sector. As that's going to be Iro with a 344.9. Going to be slotting himself into second. He's just going to displace Borgso by a couple of tenths. Jean-Carve is going to drop himself into fourth with a 3 minutes 50. And then on the GT3 side, we have a 4:02 coming in from Jordan Forte. Fastest time, but Alistair Ramsey just going to pip him by a couple of tenths of a second. Here goes Ben Rees, though, coming up, and a very nice run indeed. 329.424. That's enough for third place. Let's check in with some of our GT3s. Meanwhile, it's going to be in the Lamborghini. This is going to be Rich Gasson with Team DGSR. So making his way down here. So first and second sectors down and looking on fairly good time. About a second and a half away. We have got our top 5 minus the LMP2s for every class now. So go Schleeting, Mitchell, Rees, Borgerson and Wilson. And then Cook, Missouri, Borgso and Jean-Carve in LMP2. Ramsey, Forte, De Vries, Wilson and Michenzo are going to be your top 5 for LMGT3. Oh, Gasson with a big slide coming through that final sector, just on the pit entrance. Bit too hot there. So this is coming up to the pit entrance. That was just a sort of exit road, I think, for the stewards. A little bit too hot, but let's see what time he can still commit to here. So what time it would have been at the very least. So coming up to the line. So a few more cars now making their way. It's going to be a 4:08.3. So that's going to be slotting him into P11 of the group here. Let's take a full cycle and look at all of the times that we have in store. So it's just Hillier, Artak Vicic and Garde, or Guard, in the pit still and yet to set a time. Kingsbury could do with a bit of improvement, but doesn't seem to be a case that he's back out again. He's not going to have another chance. Say Drury is with a 4:10 and potentially with a chance to get that time up. The clock has now elapsed now, so this is last runs for the entire field. Looking at the LMP2s of our 6 entrants, we have 4 out with a time and only 2 in the trouble, in the danger zone. Say Lovric in the 397, say in the Orica, I believe. Oh yeah, I did think as such. That the 397 was a reference to the studio. I just wanted to get the double confirm. Thank you for the confirm there. So yeah, these are custom liveries, and man, is it good to see custom liveries. That really is something I've been looking forward to. But here we go, Lovric into first place of the LMP2s with a 336.5. Is going to displace Cook by an entire second and a half. So brilliant work there. Let's have a quick look at the hypercars as well, as we will see the timing board. That's going to be 9 hypercars here. Charles is going for a bit of a spin as he's in second place. And then 5 of the hypercars not setting a time at all. So big gap from the field there. But let's take stock of where we are. Let's take stock of everyone that's qualifying positions. And let's see who has the wins. So, Schleeting, best time of hypercar with a 325.7. And then it's going to be Jerome Metral with a 328.996 in second. Ben Rees is going to be with a 329.4. And then Borgerson with a 341. Yeah, so not the best time from Borgerson, but he's still going to be ahead of Wilson, Quinn, Moffat, Starkey, and Vin. Fortunately, Starkey did get put at the back because of a technical issue outside of his control. So the OBS crashed, and that, along with the game, has meant that he wasn't able to set a time. He's only just able to get back in the server. Looking at the LMP2s with some positive surprises, there is Lovrich with a 336.5 and just getting ahead of Richard Cook with 37.949. 343.7 is going to be Iro Visuri, and then Remy Alexander Borgso in 4th with a 345.2. 348.8 is going to go to Alexander Zhonkov, with James Reed being the only LMP2 yet to set a time and going to start with the back of that respective order. Finally, your GT3s, where it's going to be Alistair Ramsey, and a few other cars are now making their way, so we will potentially see this change. But Alistair Ramsey leads with a 401.5 and a 401.9 for Hendrik de Vries. Jordan Forte with a 402.121. So Adam Rios we're on board with, you can just see in the background of the standings. But let's see if he has anything more in the tank. Let's see, Adam Rios. It's a smooth run there. Let's see if there's any improvement. It's a 401.501. I can't believe it. Rios is your pole holder out of nowhere. He's completely swept under the feet of everybody. So that is Barham now coming through with a 404.5. So 7th place here. Matt Keys is going to be down with a 407.2. So improvements made. But I am seriously impressed. Rios, 401.501. Massive surprise. And I'm going to have to quickly go over that qualifying result again for the GT3s. As let's kind of change the game a little bit. So now it's Ramsey in P2, De Vries in P3, with Forte and Stijink completing your top 5. Wilson, Barham, Michenzo, Gasson, and Cooley are going to complete the top 10. And then it's Keys, Drury, Kingsbury, Vicic, Hillier, and Guard completing your order. But now everyone is going to be getting themselves set and ready. And let's see who has what it takes. So Schlichting and Mitral are going to be in your first row in the 50 and the 8 cars respectively. Row 2 is going to go for Ben Rees in the number 12 and Borgerson also in the 50 for the Ferrari 499, with row 3 going to Starkey and Wilson in the custom and the Porsche. Vin and Quinn rolls off the tongue quite nicely. Both in Ferraris, P7, P8, row 4. Row 5 is going to go to Daniel Moffat with Thomas Lovrich in the 10th position slot. Finally, is going to be to the LMP2s, as say Lovrich leading. And then in row 6, it's Cook and Visuri, who are 2nd and 3rd. Borgso and Zhonkov in 4th and 5th for LMP2, and in 13th and 14th overall, with Reed rounding off your LMP2 order. Rios leads with the LMGT3s in 16th, as row 9 is completed by Alistair Ramsey and Hendrik de Vries. Coming up to the end of the top 20 is Jordan Forte and Franklin Stijink. It's a shame we don't get the custom liveries on the starting order, I will say. But 21st and 22nd is going to be Wilson and Barham right here, along with Michenzo and Gasson, the DGSR friends over on there. That's going to be 25th and 26th as well, going to Mark Cooley and Matt Keys. And then last drivers on our order as the drivers get rolling is Drury, it's Kingsbury, it's Artak, Vicic and Hillier in 29th and 30th. And then is Jason Guard in the 31st spot and completing the order. But it's time to go racing, folks. It's time to go. It's time to have some fun. Let's see who's got this. Remember, different classes, different rules. Top 10 of GT3, top 2 of LMP2, and top 3 of Hypercars will be the only ones to score. Let us know who your favourites are. I'm seeing support for Mitral in the chat. Let us know who you're keeping your eyes on. But it's time to go racing, folks. The track is a beautiful 27 degrees, partial clouds, but the track is looking beautiful. The track is about to go hot. And we'll see which community is about to get crowned the winner. It's a big day for both sides of the aisle. Qualifying was a taster. And now we get the main course, the main event. So whether you're watching from the live driver POV, courtesy of Craig, or you are watching us here on the live commentary side of things, it's an absolute pleasure to do these. And we'll see who comes out on top. So the points aggregation will be, I believe we'll have subject to stewarding, but the points aggregation will try and do a couple of them ahead of time. Get a rough idea of who came out on top. But here we are as we round the final chicanes. Let's go racing. It's the Inter Community Showdown. Let's have it. 75 minutes, the track is hot, green flag, and we are go. Immediately, right out the gate, chaos erupts. As you can see, it's a gaggle of cars all trying to find some position. There's going to be Schleeting on the outside, Mitral on the inside, trying to get the apex of that first right-hander. Set himself well for the first chicane. That's going to be Wilson coming in a little bit hot alongside Ben Rees here, as there's going to be stifling and scuffling all four position there down. There's going to be Starkey taking it a bit of a jump forward, as that's going to be Borgerson losing a bit of time. He's in fact under the pressure of the LMP2s as things get mighty congested, and no, Borgerson going off into the gravel. He's going to keep the car running, but he's going to lose a couple of spaces, and he's barely keeping proximity with the other cars. Oh no, that's a loss. That's Missouri going into the gravel and off the side of the track. He's completely lost his rear wing in the Orica. He needs to get that car back out, and he needs to get into the pits now. He's going to be limping that thing home. Really rough start there for Irlo. Not going to be a happy bunny. Quinn, Liam Moffat, Reed, Vicic, Guard, and Veen all in the pits. So not sure exactly what's going on there, but let's keep an eye on our GT3s as well. We've got a couple of squabbles further away. You see, we pull the camera forward. It's Stijink right now, just trying to find a pocket of space. He's got Richard Cook breathing down his neck. You've also got Adam Rios, who started up ahead, but he's overtaken by Ramsey and Forte. So the advantages, managing to get advantages out of a mistake earlier in the race. You see, here's Cook trying to get past and just trying to displace some of the traffic. Peels to the left side, gets himself out of trouble. Dan Wilson going on the aggressive. He's going to overtake Mitral right there. Mitral seemed having an issue coming out of the chicane. Seems like he's on the back foot a little bit here. He's going to have to regain a bit of confidence and get his car back in fighting form. Schleeting currently running away, as he's already 2 seconds up. Bit of a wobble from Wilson onto the exit of the gravel. You can see the Ferrari in the foreground as everyone else squabbles and fights for position. And Borgerson is, having a lot of trouble dealing with the LMP2 of Loverick. He's having quite a lot of difficulty dealing with that thing. More further up, is a couple of bollards being knocked down, and Rios in P3 still trying to chase down the likes of Forte and Ramsey. Right onto the back of the former. But the latter is almost 2 seconds clear. See, drag race between Michenzo and De Vries, meanwhile in the background. They're looking very clean from the both. There's a good space being shown. So we get flashbang by a sponsor board there from Gazoo Racing. Thank you very much, guys. Michenzo has the advantage, and oh no! What's happened over here? Looks like Rios and Forte came together, and they have completely ruined each other's races. They've gone into the sidewall. Rios is still stranded. He's completely wingless. Something had to have happened majorly between those two, as now Rios is not only in P13, but he's going to have to go into the pits. He's not going to be any use out on track with that rear wing missing. You can argue the same for Visuri, who is currently all the way down and barely able to hold his car together. You can see it's practically skating across the asphalt. He just cannot get any grip down. Cannot get the rear axle to cooperate. I mean, he did have a mighty tank slapper against the wall there, so I do feel for the guy who was under a bit of pressure from the hypercars at the start of the race. The hypers have mostly spread themselves out, as they same with the LMP2s, although saying that that is going to be, I believe that's Cooley losing the competition there. Oh no, that is, I believe, Barham. Trying to keep up with all of this sometimes. This is the thing with multi-class racing. There's so much happening, especially at the start. There's so much happening at any one time. It is a battle in and of itself just to keep up with everything that happens. We're on board with De Vries right now. He's going for P2 here, with the battle between Forte and Rios opening a power vacuum. As Forte's into the pits, Rios, I believe, is on his way out, or at the very least is going to be soon heading through himself. Folks. Yeah, looking back to the action right now, it's going to be a bit of a scuffle between the LMGT3s for sure. Checking with P2s, Cook is going to be hunting Borgso down, and we'll be soon seeing if these two have what it takes to make a real fight out of this. If I do take any breaks, by the way, folks, that is because I'm needing to get the fan open and get some air going. It is currently registering 31 degrees internal temp in this room, so there may be times where I have to quickly step out just to get a little bit of cool down and get some airflow in the room. I've got a little corner studio at the bottom of the stairs, or under the stairs, sorry. Cook with a very clean move against Borgso, but looks like Borgso actually just yielded out of the way. I'm not sure if he's having a bit of an issue. I am seriously impressed with Thomas right here, because he's really given Borgso a run for his money. You got to think, folks, it is very rare to have such a battle between classes. So Lovrich is really punching above his weight here. He's a whole 28 seconds clean from his next opponent. Actually, no, my mistake. There's a 12 seconds clean. I was misreading some of the gaps. There's a bit of a scuffle between Stocky and Reese right now. Ooh, we can see he's just scoping out for position right now. So we can see Starkey is just trying to scope Reese out, and he's keeping himself within a second. He doesn't have to go as hard initially because he will have time to go on the counter. I think at this point in time, drivers just want to get some space for themselves. They don't necessarily need to fight as hard. Don't need to fight because you're just going to set yourself up for difficulty and failure. I mean, right now we have got a few racers who have had to go into the pits and get some repairs owing to their earlier misfortunes. Yuro still limping his car through, but he remains committed, and that is massively commendable. He's still committed through. Looks like we have 25 drivers in the end of all this, as we do have a late appearance on the track. That's the Jason Guard, but we are missing out from Quinn, Moffat, Hillier, Reed, Artak, and Vin. Checking with these two, so Barham, Michenzo, and Kingsbury, all in a trio. Or at least all looking like they could be chasing a position soon. Looks like Kingsbury went into the pits, so he's kind of sidestepped this whole fight. And he will be re-emerging towards the back of the order. Interestingly, a lot of the LMP2s have spaced massively from each other. And I think they're suffering a little bit with a middle-class syndrome right now. Because they aren't being kept in close proximity like the LMGT3s, and they're scuffling with the hypercars in some cases. So they very much are in that middle space. They're not having their own space Looks like we had an issue though with Stagink, as he is missing a wing. Missing a wing and having a big problem with his car right now. Very much like we've seen with racers previous, limping the car. It literally looks like he's in limp mode and dragging that car. Looks like his steering's bent as well. He's having to constantly steer to the left just to get the car across. Le Mans is punishing. It is a fast, but is an unforgiving circuit, as we're about to see between these two. Here comes Barham alongside of Michenzo, going with a little bit of extra speed coming out of the chicane. Nicely done. Barham is going to have the nose up ahead, but that's not going to stop Michenzo from holding firm, holding the line. He's going to have a little bit more top end. Looks like his gear's a tiny bit sharper than Barham's right now. The two are going to squeeze right to the side, and it is going to be Michenzo taking a bit more. He has the better line, and Barham has to yield. Otherwise, that could have ended in some serious trouble. Good sportsmanship being shown, of course, as always. Come to expect it out of these two and these two communities. But a very respectable battle with some good fun on display. Hero finally making his way to the pit box. Good on ya. Making it home and now able to get that car back in some fighting shape. Very impressed with the opening laps. And very much impressed with everyone in each class so far. Particularly the LMP2s, I'm seriously impressed by. Like, Thomas is looking like a real rocket here. And looking nigh untouchable. Cook is a whole 17.5 seconds away. Looks like he is going to be holding the line here. Although... yeah, and Save really is limping that car through. But he is going to make it through, and he is going to get that car in a better state. Barham still on the back of Michenzo, but not as close as he once was. Let's check in with another fight, though, as we do have just slightly adrift. And a little bit further up is going to be Gasson on the back of Cooley. Now, Cooley has got a pretty much all matte black car. So I wonder if there was a minor hiccup with the livery, or minor hiccup with the grip and the gravel, or multiple LMGT3s going wide here. Multiple, all taking a little bit of a detour. A little bit of a detour. So very much enjoying this fight in front of us. I think the LMGT3s tend to be a place where you have a lot of cars congregating together. And we will have that come to pass here. Borgerson in the pits is going to emerge potentially P19, P20 overall, meaning that he'll have to fight his way through all of the LMGT3s in his path. So to a squabble between Michenzo, Gasson, Cooley. They're all in a close cohort. Barham has unfortunately dropped by the wayside a significant margin. We do have Kingsbury a little bit further down the road trying to chase on to Drury right now. Looks like Kingsbury's got a really good run heading into the Mulsanne straight. First 15 minutes off the clock, and things are looking up for many drivers. I mean, looking at the hypercars, it does look like we have a strong showing from both sides. We have Schlichting currently leading and by a significant margin. And then Starkey in third. Reese is going to be with a solid defense in the Porsche, keeping him at bay for the time being. And then Mitral getting a recovery drive under his belt as he has thoroughly left any other hypercar competitors in the dust. At least Bourne's behind him, and is now closing that gap to Starkey soon. So within the next couple of laps, I wouldn't be surprised if we see those two come to blows. Shenzo in the middle of it now. It has managed to get past Gasson, as Cooley is going to be his next target. Now that Lambo, I'm pretty sure, is quite good in the turns. He's able to rotate fairly effectively, but can sometimes suffer a little bit from stability issues unless well dialed. So these LMGT3s, compared to the hypercars, are, I'd say forgiving, but still have to treat them with respect, or they will bite you. They will not mess around. If you're taking the mick with the grip levels, it won't hesitate to introduce you to the wrong side of a tyre wall. The 23 drivers remaining on the course. Unfortunately, we did have DNFs of Dan Wilson and Iro Vasuri. Iro, of course, with the amount of damage he sustained, even with a pit stop, would not be viable to recover. So he is going to be retiring out. And then Dan Wilson is going to be out as well. I believe they had a similar fate, and they are done here. They are going to be joining the likes of Dennis Vin, Dan Moffat, and James Quinn in the pits, although the fate remains to be seen. Checking in with Starkey. So now that we have custom liveries, it's good to see the Adidas livery coming back. It has been a staple, and it has been something that I personally have missed. I really have missed it. So we will see how this one pans out. So now that he's flying his flag, has he got the livery boost? Is the livery buff going to play into his driving here tonight? The blue and the 3 stripes. You cannot miss it. Let's see what this one has in store for us. Barham still onto the back of Gasson here. Thomas. That's going to be close. Now, folks, I am going to go mute for up to 2 minutes now. We're going to leave you in the capable hands of the fight for the... Oh, no, saying that, though, we have seen a lot of space suddenly open up. Say, Mishenzo coming up behind Barham. Never mind. But are going to keep our eyes trained on... Let's have a look at Ben Reese. Let's see from his POVs. He's going to be on the defense from Starkey throughout this next lap. I am going to go mute for a second in order to get a fan running, as we are up at 33 degrees internal right now, and I need to get that temperature under control. So we'll be right back with you. Here we go, folks. Thanks for the patience, as always. If there is any issues with the audio quality, by the way, do say, as we now have a bit more airflow going. Now, back to it there, you can see Starkey hasn't really gone for much of a move yet. He hasn't got the proximity, and that's going to be something that he needs to work on here. Looking a bit further away, though, and a lap down, Borgerson back on the track has now got his own fight. It's a personal one. It's not going to be playing in for positions in his favour, but it is going to be a fight that he has to endure. He will be currently trying to make up time to his hypercar brethren, and he's currently making his way through the LMGT3 field. So slowly, one by one, going for the overtakes, just trying to displace the traffic that surrounds him. He's going to be up against Kingsbury. So Borgso is going to have much of a similar fight in the LMP2. And taking a pit stop earlier, and now a little bit on the back foot, but still will be holding the line and continuing his charge. See, he's actually tussling with a little bit of space with a certain Starkey here, as he has lost about a second and a half to Ben Rees. He had a bit of a difficult Mulsanne straight. And a bit of a moment, but we have got Ben Rees also down in fourth, as he's gone off the track and is rejoined behind not only Starkey but Metral as well. So he's just behind. I think that was that Rios we lost? No, so Rios is back down here. In fact, getting chased by one of the LMP2s. That is going to be Richard Cook right here. So the LMP2s are having a bit of a quiet race, but that's what they want. If they want to secure points for their team, for their community, this is what you've got to do. So Borgerson and Borgso, they are in an interesting predicament, so they will see how they can improve in their current position. We'll see Borgerson actually struggling a little bit, as it looks like that is Gasson giving him... well, he's not exactly entitled to having the best line, but Gasson still get a little bit of a defense, just throw him off. Back into the hypercar fight. It looks like we have Ben Rees looking to recover, as Metral is going to be flashing the lights. They're going a little bit slower into that final right-hander of the straight before we head on into the third sector. So Rees managing to get himself into third. Now he's going to be on the chase again, as Starkey is a couple of seconds away. We just see him in the foreground as Borgerson makes his way around Michenzo, and is now actually providing Starkey with a little bit of a tow. Blue flags in force, of course, so there will be professional courtesy, there will be sportsmanship on display. We have many cars spreading out by this point, just trying to find their own pocket of the circuit and continue unencumbered. Now is the part of the race where you want to get consistency in. You want to get some laps in that are smooth, and you don't want to have to keep fighting. Although saying that, looks like Starkey has had a major off. He cooked the throttle too hard, and he's waiting for an open window on the track to pass so he can get himself back moving again. He's been dropped all the way to fourth now. See, come on, buddy. He just needs to move. Something is going wrong here. I don't know what's happened. What's gone on there? Has he dropped entirely? Yes, he has. He has completely dropped. He is gone. And he is out by the looks of things. He's back to the pits. I think Sarthe might have had the same issue that we saw just in the qualifying. I think his OBS and subsequently game might have crashed again. Hopefully not, as that has completely taken him out of any chance with this fight. Real shame. Reese is going to, of course, be the benefactor in all of this. He's going to be our backup into P2, and with no competition to hold him to account. The closest he's going to have Jerome in third, but he's several seconds away. He's 3.7 seconds behind. He's not going to pose the threat that I think that he wants to, and he's losing more time by the corner. Almost coming up to the line to start his next lap, and is in a similar position to Schleeting in that he's completely peeled away from the rest of the field. We've got Richard Cook having much of a similar story, as Zhonkov is only now just going through that right angle corner to finish off the third sector. Yeah, and unfortunately we got confirmation LMU did indeed crash for Sarthe once again. So sad to see it, mate, but as they put up a mighty good fight up until that point, and was really driving a brilliant race. My game has had a lot of instability as well this evening. Luckily, nothing has shown, at least front side from what I can see, but we did have 3 game crashes during the process of setting up and eventually getting ourselves trackside. Yeah, the game crashed 3 times. See who else is going to bring a fight to the table. But as we currently hold, 23 drivers remain. We do have multiples in the pits, and then the now 3 DNFs, unless Sarthe can get back in. But right now, it's not looking hopeful. Borgerson, to his credit, has peeled back a lot of time. He's managed to displace most of the GT3 field with minimal issue. But credit where it's due, he has been able to really get himself back in the fight for the most part. He's still got a long way to go, don't get me wrong. But he has made good on his previous position. Nowhere near in as bad of a spot as he used to be. A real smooth running. We're just taking a sort of moment to ride along board with Barham right now, as he is a couple of seconds behind Cooley. You can see just in the foreground there. Battle for P4. But really is doing a good job of just handling their race smoothly. And this is the most important part of this sector of the race. I know I'm sort of reiterating a little bit, but the drivers need a quiet race to get the most out of it. That's the best race. Well, even though it may be anticlimactic for us watching at home, for those racers on the track, the less disturbances and the less volatility that they have to experience, the better. It means they can focus on getting the best time, peel as much as they can from their rivals, and just focus on good, clean racing. Really looking smooth, though. Looking very smooth indeed with, on all counts. With Borgso getting a recovery under his belt as well. Now slowly reuniting with his LMP2 brethren. Let's see what these racers have in store for us here. I'll admit, I was not fully prepared for the level of heat that I had experienced in the room. Just had to take a second to cool off, recompose. But back to it now. Let's take a quick sort of look at the entire field in full. So we have Schlichting up in P1. Reese and Mitral are very much spacing off from each other. Reese just finishing a lap now with Mitral just coming into those final chicanes. Tomasz nearly 26 seconds away from his next closest competitor. Then Cook along with Zhonkov in second and third. Ramsey is the lead of the GT3s and hasn't got as big of a gap compared to the P2s and the Hypers. But still nearly 10 seconds. In LMGT3 terms, that's a substantial gap. I mean, you consider how much faster these LMP2s and hypercars lap Le Mans. It helps you put into perspective. We've got the fastest lap at a 4:02 for the Vantage right here that we are watching. But then you compare that to something like the LMP of Richard Cook, and it's a 3:39.9. Massive speed difference between those two cars. In fact, to the point where Borgso is, I think, about to put that on display for us here, as he's now going to start the next lap here. He's not long overtaken De Vries. And we will see him now making his way across that start-finish line, and one more time now making his way through. Looking back to Barham, I know we've checked in on him a few times, but he is actually getting quite close to Mark Cooley over here. He is getting to feel a little bit of pressure as it's now Lexus v Lexus. Massive opportunity lying in wait. And Barham does look like he's keen to take it. So, going down into the Mulsanne straight now. Let's check in with some of their speeds too, as now we have got a proper drag race. Sixth gear You won't be seeing the 320s, 330s of the LMP2s and Hypers, but you will still be seeing some pretty high speeds as we make our way through to the first chicane. LMP2 in tow. This could get a little bit dicey if that is going to be Borgso trying to make a bit of a hit here. So Cooley is going to be on the defensive, and Barham is just going to get his way through nicely. I think that's Thomas, actually. That was my mistake, folks, here. But let's compare, and you can see the acceleration compared to... That is ridiculous. That Orica, the amount of acceleration it has, it doesn't have the same peak speed, but it is a mighty impressive. So those peak speeds are still going to belong to the hypercars. Meanwhile, Cooley and Barham still running close together. I wonder if Cooley's going to go for any kind of counter-attack heading into the final chicane, or into the final corner. Or if he's just going to bide his time and maybe go for another hit later. See what the future holds for these two, as I don't think this is going to be the last we'll see of them. I think that there are going to be a lot more altercations between those two on the horizon. But Borgso has now finally got himself back into the roster with the other P2s. He is still going to be a large chunk behind, nearly 2 minutes behind, but now he's not having to deal with that splicing of the leaderboard anymore. And he can start actually making up some time over the course of the rest of this race. 40 minutes on the clock here, 39 to be exact. And as we come to the halfway point, one thing has become abundantly clear. Everyone has just found their own pocket of the track and is now hot lapping. With some brief exceptions, Cooley and Barham still jostling. You're seeing gaps of 10 seconds, 45 seconds, 30, 20, 16, 68, 116, 19. There is a lot of space between races. And unfortunately, we do see a third DNF. This is going to be from Sebastian Borgerson. Wasn't able to reconcile the pace difference that he had and the space that he would have to overcome. So, having now taken his leave, that will leave us now with 22 racers. As Artak is actually on the track now. By some miracle, that Mustang has graced Le Mans with his presence. But he's going to have a lot of work to do. Now, he is 15th in the order. So he's not going to be scoring points at this stage, but if he has a chance to support his team, then of course he's going to do just that. He's peeling back into the pit, so wonder what's going to be made of him. We will check in with him periodically. Let's see how these races are doing. As it looks like Cooley and Gasson once again jostling. Cooley having a rough entrance to the Mulsanne straight. Cooley will still be fighting. Remember, this is for P4. It's P4 of the GT3 standings. So points are going to be awarded here, and this could be a difference between communities. Cooley is running with a DGSR, Barham running with a GRDC. You're not going to be having an easy time just yet. seismic shift to come in this order. I don't know exactly where this is going to place our racers, but at this stage I do believe that, say, we will have a change of position soon between quite a few cars. Noticing how the racers are starting to line up and starting to potentially chase onto a bit of a multi-car fight. I mean, look at Keys. Keys is within a second to Dave Drury. Now, Drury hasn't really had much in the way of any challenge or driving force here. He is going to have a fire lit under him in the form of Keys, though. Oh, here we go. So a bit of insight as well. Quote, put the wrong setup on the car, so lack of pace was just one issue for me. I say unfortunate to hear it, mate, but as always, you drive the best you can. Say an unfortunate mistake made, but still, hold your head high. Heads held high at this point. It is just about having if nothing else, having a bit of fun. Having a little bit of fun here. Because at the end of the day, as much as this is a competition between two communities, it is also a friendly one. It's one about just sharing and having a bit of excitement, just pitting two teams against each other and enjoying our time here, as we race for the love of it as well. It's all important to remember. Ramsey, De Vries, Wilson, Barham, Cooley all heading into the pits now, along with Richard Cook in the LMP2s. So big shift and change up happening as we speak, with at least one of the groups see Reese being careful to negotiate the M4 and ensure there is no issues. Here we are, Tech Vichik. He's still holding strong and pressing forward as ever. You see more GT3 cars now heading into the pits. Ramsey is going to be taking the lead. As a result, Kingsbury, in a turn of events, is going to be in second. De Vries not too far behind in third. Cooley is going to be jumping out of the pits now and is looking to be ahead of the likes of both Wilson and Barham, all making their way out roughly the same time. How many have ever done the big death into Indianapolis? I'm sorry for something about that, just reading that. It speaks so much. It speaks so much. No, we've had quite a time here. We've had quite a time. Let's check in around. We have the three hypercars leading, and the three hypercars surviving in the pits right now. So Schlichting, Reese and Metral all into the pits. Schlichting has just left the box. Reese is now coming out of it at the same time, and then you can see in the background that as a Gasson in the GT3 cars. Yeah, well, it is I guess sort of testament to the realism if it's a case for both real drivers and LMU racers. It's sort of a testament to the accuracy of the simulation in that case. But yeah, we've had a couple, but nothing that most of our drivers haven't been able to handle. And as we currently stand, we are seeing reduced numbers compared to where we would want to be. So 22 remaining racers, and out of those 15 are LMGT3s. We have 3 surviving LMP2s, or 4 surviving LMP2s, sorry. and 3 surviving hypercars. Mostly a GT3 dominated field. But with half an hour to go, looks like there could be a lot of points stacked on the table. Now, I do wonder if there is going to be an adjustment of the scoring based on the surviving cars. For those who weren't here at the start, the top 10 GT3s will score points, the top 2 LMP2s will score points, and the top 3 hypercars will score points. However, at current, this means that all hypercars, regardless of finishing position, as long as they finish the race, they'll get points. And then half of the LMP2 will be awarded, and I think 2/3 of the GT3 class will get awarded. Yes, 2/3. 2/3. So the points divvying is going to be a little bit askew, just owing to the fact that we have so many drivers in the pits and DNF'd unfortunately couldn't make the start due to technical issues or what have you. That is going to skew the points balance relative of the classes just a little bit. I think the GT3s is certainly going to be the one to watch, and I know that this update has sort of really brought the heat, brought the fire. So Kingsbury has been displaced by De Vries as we head through that final sector now. Although, saying that, De Vries has gone very wide out of that and is going to be pressing a little bit of an advantage. Yes, as eloquently explained by Craig, now that he's in the chat, if you do enjoy what we do here, if you're a friend coming over from DGSR, or if you're a GRDC veteran, any support for our channel and the stream goes a long way. Whether that's a like, whether it's a subscription, if you want to stay tuned with our events, you want to see things like what the future holds for, say, other championships. We've got the Invitational going on right now. That's every Wednesday. We've got the LMGT3 challenge on Mondays, as well as special events every now and again like this. So, sweeping it through. And speaking of, let's say, Joseph Black just joining the chat, one of our, let's say, esteemed commentators for the GT3 challenge on the Mondays. You can catch him then. So him along with Max Ring, wonder duo that they are. Let's say Wilson, hot on the heels. Cooley going through a bit of a tough time as he's been under pressure time and time again this race. Now he's going to be facing a Bavarian threat in the form of the BMW M4. They call me a contrarian, but I actually really like how that Lexus looks in matte black. And oh no, 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 no! Going back one more time, cameraman. That is Wilson losing the car into the entrance of the Mulsanne Straight, avoiding action coming in from, I believe that's Schleeting right there. But yeah, that's a brutal spin. That will be Wilson now effectively in limp mode. You can see the amount of speed that he is losing. And in fact, let's switch things over to the HUD for a moment. You can see he's got the VMAX, but he's having to be so much harsher on those brakes, braking so much earlier than the rest of the field because he hasn't got the lateral grip. He just has not got the grip compared to his rivals. That rear wing plays such a big factor. He's got, of course, diffuser and the floor elements and some of the canards and strakes for the rest of the body kit. A little bit of aero management there, but that wing is what keeps your rear planted. And without it, you're effectively running half a setup. And that's going to make your car very peaky. It's going to make it want to spin on throttle particularly. Case and point. Wilson round on the second chicane, avoiding action coming in from Ben Rees, as well as, I believe that is Michenzo now passing him. Wilson going into the pits and DNFing. He is quitted out of this session, so that is going to be another retiree, bringing us down to 21 races remaining. I don't think Starkey is going to be rejoining us. I think he's resigning to the chat for now, although the timing board saying that he's still technically in it because it was a disconnection rather than a retirement. So the game still assumes that he could rejoin and retake control of his car. Even so, pressure is at an all-time high, as we will see our racers now coming into the final half an hour, truly. 25 minutes and counting. So much rides on these next 15 minutes of racing, because there will be a lot of work to do. The racers want to catch up to their rivals, particularly someone like the LMP2s. But also on the back of Jean-Carve, 1.7 seconds. But I'm looking at the likes of Reese, Machral. They're going to have to make up a ton of time in a very short space if they want to make something more than their current position. And honestly, I would be of the mindset that I want to secure the position I have. I tend to say within the last 10 minutes, that is when you make the judgment call of whether you want to go for the position or if you're going to hang back and behave. Now, when it comes to the session at hand and the season at hand, or whatever may have you, especially when you're talking a wider season, you tend to play it more conservative, because one poor result could be a major downfall. The field is vast, and I think if you want to make a move, you need to be within 5 seconds at this point. I don't think you're going to have any luck if you're, say, 20 seconds away. That's just too much time to make up with the consistency of the racers around you. You cannot make that kind of time so easy. Seeing Borgso, for example, he's within a second and he's going to be pushing to chase. You're going to have a lot of fight left in him yet. And as a recovering very well. But the session still has a lot of time left on it. And I would be making a decision now if I was going to fight for the position ahead or if I was just going to secure what I get. The stakes are slightly different with the inter-community aspect. It's like, if I'm in Jean-Carve's position right now, do I go on the defensive? Or do I try and push forward and retain or retake the P3? Because this is points for DGSR that could be gained or lost here, and that could be a big difference. The LMP2 class is fairly uncontested, and he's got Loverick up ahead of him in P1. He's going to be the points carrier for that group. With only the top 2 scoring points in this class, makes you wonder how much they actually want to fight, but even so, they're going to have the friendly tussle. It's going to be the drag race Borgso going on the hunt for the space, and he's going to go narrow into the first chicane. Oh, big slip and contact with a wall. Jean-Carve is going to lock the rear, spin the car, and his car visually looks okay, but I don't know if he's going to have some serious damage to contend with. He's got back on his feet. But yikes, that looked like a violent spin and crash. Jean-Carve is going to have a lot of work to do now if he wants to recover. And I don't know if he's actually got damage. It's tough to tell because we haven't got a visual indication of any kind. Seems to be fairly okay. Doesn't look like his steering is compromised in any way. I'm not seeing him having to peel the steering or hold it to one side. Doesn't look too severe. checking in with our other racers. If you want to take a full look, let's go class by class here. So, Schleeting in the lead right now, with Reese 21 seconds away and Mishral 27 seconds further. You do unfortunately have just those three remaining, as we never saw Quinn, Moffat or Vin leave the pits. Borgerson and Wilson DNF'd, and Starkey suffering from a connection issue and a game crash. While the game still treats him as in the race, he has effectively DNF'd and made our third DNF on the list, so we'll be 7th in the order. Taking a look then at the LMP2s. Direct leads. Out of the 6, we have 4 racers on the course, and as I say, we do have Jean-Carve now 30 seconds behind Borgso, so I'm starting to question if there really is a damage or what have you. Say Moffat had bugs and couldn't drive. Oh, that's a shame. That is a shame. It seems like there's a couple of technical gremlins happening between different races, and this hasn't been the smoothest of experiences. I know the June update was quite a big one, so it may have introduced a little bit of instability. A more last class of the day, it is Ramsey leading for the LMGT3s, and you can see there is more DNFs coming. Mark Cooley has DNF'd, ending the fights that he was having, and say Chris Wilson along with Kingsbury as well. So that is going to bring us down to 19 racers remaining. See, quite a big gap between a lot of them here. It's almost as if you're going in pairs. You do have, for example, 10 seconds between De Vries and Ramsey, and then you have a massive gap with Barab and Michenzo. Massive gap again with Gasson and then Rios, although a little bit further with that one. An interesting dynamic and an interesting blend of positions. Curiously, the fastest lap of the GT3s is not going to be from any of the leaders, it's going to be from Gure. It's going to be from the Mustang of Artek Vicic. 4:02.476. I think that was nearly on par with some of our quali times, and is going to be 0.2 of a second faster than Alistair Ramsey. So I think we are seeing a case of has got the pace but didn't get the start. Just observing blue flags to make the LMP2 get past them safely. Safety being key. Let's see how the races stack up here, as the final 15 minutes are soon looming. We aren't going to have much time left out here on this course, and we will still have a couple of fights that need to be settled. Now, unfortunately, we do have a lot of the races now splayed out across the course, and being Le Mans, and as big as it is, a 13-kilometer romp, it is a dramatic course, but it is also one that requires a lot of population in order to have consistent fighting. Well, we did have a couple of drivers who were close, but those drivers have either modified their strategy, modified their presence on the track, DNFing or otherwise, or they have just hit the gas and disappeared. We are looking at the closest gap that you have, which is 40 against Rios, but that's still 10.5 seconds. So there isn't any drivers who are in the immediate vicinity to each other. Looking at the stack, though, of drivers, it looks like, say, while Schleeting on the GRDC side is going to be leading for the hypercar, with Reese and Meshral in second and third, that is going to be sweeping up points on the rear from the remaining hypercars. Similar story to the LMP2s. Thomas and say Jean-Carve first and fourth, with Cook and Borgso in the second and third position. Although it looks like we do have Jean-Carve trying to unlap himself right now. Or is he? No, he's actually going to go a little bit deep and allow Lovridge to go further past him. Yeah, to say, looking good for DGSR right now. Meanwhile, on the side of the LMGT3s, GRDC does seem to have the advantage. We have Alistair Ramsey with Hendrik de Vries and Gary Barham first through third. We have Michenzo, which I think is the highest placed DGSR rep, in fourth place, with Gasson, also DGSR, who is going to be in fifth, about a minute behind. Rios is going to be just peeling off to the side in the third sector there, but keeping things nice and smooth. And while we are here as well, folks, of course we have 15 minutes left on the clock, but if you have enjoyed everything that we've done here, you want to see more stuff like this, one thing I can strongly recommend is checking out the Discord servers of both GRDC, of course, which has been linked to my Nightbot below, or DGSR as well. Want to get on to those communities. If you're on either side, then recommend popping your head in and saying hi. There's a lot of fun to be had on both sides of the pond, for sure. And we want to do more interesting events like this. And in general, if you've enjoyed the coverage, let us know, because there's certainly more opportunities for that. On the GRD side... D side? No. Wording. On the GRDC side, and to be beside the seaside, to be beside the sea. And also, potentially, who knows, might pop up on DGSR. Say more than open, say look like a really fun community to work with, and have been great to work with here in the setting up of this event here on the driver's end of things. Day 40. So looking clean with the custom liveries, and yeah, again, really good to see those custom liveries making an appearance now. Of course, you can't, it doesn't look like you can set the custom driver numbers alongside that, or at least in this iteration it doesn't seem to be happening. But it is refreshing. It is very refreshing to have those custom spec cars. So 40 running the number 40. I think that is intentional there. Poetic, if you will. But the final laps will soon be upon us. Looking at the position of the hypercars, I would hazard a guess we have about 4 laps of racing remaining. Remember, a 3:27 is the fastest time out on the course. It's courtesy of the Ferrari we are looking at right now, Philipp Schlichting. So with that maps in mind, we are looking at about 4 laps remaining until the leader crosses the line. And our champion for at least one of the classes will be crowned. Of course, you can't totally rule out anything here. On the racetrack, anything can happen. We could see an incident from one driver that completely turns the tables and tides. We nearly saw it there, Lovridge. Having to slow down for Gasson as he was sitting right on the apex. Of course, those LMP2s, they're not so much on the top end compared to hypercars, but they still have a massive amount of downforce that they can leverage to really take some of those corners at high speeds. Those medium to high speed corners are the stomping ground of the LMP2s through and through. Where hypercars really get their edge is in the speed, in the straights, in the top end. They've got an extra gear, remember, so they can gear down the power or gear up much more effectively for the speeds that they run. really enjoyed and really impressed. While we have this moment of downtime as well, I want to call out something that I think goes underappreciated sometimes. It's drivers like Vicic, like Stijink, like Jean-Calve. It's for the drivers who, despite being so far away from the next closest racer, choose to continue. Now, in sim racing, the stakes, compared to real life racing certainly, are a lot lower. You can return to the pits at any time should you see fit. You can retire from the race if you feel like it's not going your way. But it's a show of being a good sport, of being a resilient driver, to, even in the face of being significantly down on the rest of the field, still choose to race and see it through to the end. That is a display of strength. Fortunately, we have got Jason Gard, who has now DNF'd as well. Is going to join the likes of Cooley, Wilson, Kingsbury. But it is something that takes fortitude to know that you are at the back but still keep driving anyway. Because some may quit, but those who don't, that speaks to their character. So I raise my proverbial glass, or glass of water in this case, to those drivers who do weather the storm right to the very end. Because without you, racing wouldn't be as fun, and without you, the racing would not be the same. And we really want to see that in all drivers. That's the level of sportsmanship and the level of sort of courtesy and respect for your fellow driver I want to see across the board. Again, it's a sign of respect to your fellow racers to see it through, even in the face of adversity. 8 minutes remain. About 2.5 laps. We're on board with Schleeting right now. 24 seconds clear of Ben Rees. Now Rees is going to be safe in his own right because he's got 23 seconds on Metral. He's not got anything to worry about here. No need to panic there, but we will have, of course, the final couple of laps to finish things off, and never say never, say a mighty mistake could put an end. As we have seen with previous races, we have seen plenty of cars get consumed. And as an incident derails what otherwise was a bulletproof race. So you just drive it safe, drive it clean, and then you'll be able to bring things home. Find your balance, find the peace. Find it in the field. There's 6.5 seconds between 40 and Rios. Wonder how these two are doing. 3 more laps to go here. Schleeting actually coming up to a little bit of traffic. Let's see how he handles this. And is he coming up to the back of the LMP2? He's going to tuck in tail behind. He's going to go even narrower, even risking the grass. No, Schleeting! Schleeting! You daring do driver, you. That was high risk, to say it lightly. That was very high risk there, going 2 wheels on the grass, but still committing it through and making it happen. you can tell, even in his current position, 28 seconds up, he's not going to let anyone stand in his way of a total tour de force level driving. I say, getting the elbows out in that way is unnecessarily risky, but I cannot help but respect the showmanship and the level of drive right there. It could have gone very badly. Be clear, that could have really gone badly, but we didn't see it. Borgso lives to drive another day, and Schlichting is going to continue to gain his lead. I wouldn't be surprised if he reaches 30 seconds by the end of this. Ben Rees is only now coming out to the Mulsanne straight. I would be extremely surprised he didn't come out with more than 30 seconds. But even so, as the race will be soon drawing to a close, of course, thank everyone who has been a part of this. As a driver, as an organiser, as someone who is supporting, such as with stewarding or the rest of it, extremely thankful to everyone on the team, everyone who contributes, and everyone who has a hand in this being possible to begin with. Because there's a lot of moving parts. A lot of moving parts here. LMP2s are still holding strong. There's a local yellow coming out somewhere. Trying to exact where that is coming from. Looks like it's going to be Richard Cook who is suffering here. He's made a mistake in one of the chicanes in Sector 3. Local yellow coming out for him here. And you can tell, yeah, he's having a major issue. He is limping that car all of a sudden. There's a big problem. He's had a technical fault. Just questioning what it could be. Did he have a heavy collision? I don't see any visual damage. Yeah, I think it might have been Indianapolis. Indianapolis claiming a victim. Just watching Cook, it's almost tough to watch. Just, yeah, limping the car through. Will bring it home, but certainly not going to be happy about it. Have the last lap now coming through, as Schlichting is going to be going through the Mulsanne straight. I mean, he will inevitably have to pit, and there you go. An inevitability. Even though we are at the end of the race, you cannot continue in that condition. Simple as that. At that point, you are actively unsafe. I think I might have mistaken my timings in terms of the lapping here. But there may be another one. Yeah, no, there will definitely be another one. That is my mistake. I misinterpreted initially where Schlichting was on the track. So there's definitely going to be another lap now. Okay, slight misinterpretation on my end. My bad. I've got to say, it is a bit of a shame to see the amount of technical issues that some drivers have had, and through no fault of their own couldn't participate tonight. So it is, again, a big event everyone's been looking forward to. I know certainly from the GRDC side, where I've been able to keep tabs on things, a lot have been looking forward to it. And I'm sure that DGSR also have been fairly excited for this race to come to pass. It's been in the works and been in the plan for a little while. And now coming through. Schlichting going to start the final lap of the race here at Le Mans. Just under 30 seconds to spare to allow another lap to take place. So this will now definitely be the last. I mean, this wouldn't be possible without everyone chipping in, getting involved. Whether that is through the support on the channels, so liking the stream, following the channel, subscribing, or if that's in a more direct sense, if you're one of our patrons or who've contributed in that manner. Would not be able to do this without you. So as we come through for the final time, it's like Borgso is having to head into the pits as well, as Cook has re-emerged onto the circuit. Although he's seen better days, he is still limping. The car is still limping, and he's gonna be in serious trouble. Here comes Borgso. He could get second taken away from him. This is going to be a problem. Looks like we've... Oh no, Cook. Cook is out. No. An unfortunate end. On the last lap as well. That is brutal. That really is a brutal end. I just... Even if he limped it home... I don't know. Well, he wouldn't have DNF without a reason. Unfortunately, that is the way of racing sometimes. It doesn't always go your way. 31 drivers started today. 31 drivers in the server. And by the end of it, 17 remain. 11 GT3s, 3 hypercars, 3 remaining LMP2s. So for those that were able to finish, they can cross the line with their heads held high. We are on board with Schlichting right now, the driver who's had one of the most quiet races that he's had in a very long time. And one who has wholeheartedly dominated his respective class here. So coming up to the back of one of the Lexuses. Now, of course, we are keeping tabs on exactly what happened, trying to get to the bottom of it. As Craig eloquently said, reports have been filed with LMU, SimGrid and Race Control to ensure that whatever happened tonight doesn't happen again. But crossing the line and winning for the hypercars in the Inter Community Showdown, it's going to be Philip Schlichting coming through first place and the first finisher. Well done, mate, indeed. Looking around the field, though, last chances for others. And leading for the LMGT3, coming through, Alistair Ramsey is going to take your checkered flag in the vantage. Meaning that there is just our winner for LMP2 remaining before the rest of the field comes through in consort. Reese has already crossed the line and just gone to in P2, and then it's Thomas in first place, dominating the LMP2 class and looking like a strong and solid competitor. What a showing from all three groups. But now finishing things up here They race in second, Mishral in third, bringing it home for the hypercars. All hypercars have now finished. Lovebrick in first, with Borgso just overtaking again one of the Lexuses, heading into claim second in the LMP2 group, as he's now filing his way through, and then not too far behind Alexander Zhonkov, going through the final chicane to complete the LMP2s. Lastly, it's going to be Hendrik de Vries in second, with Barham in third. Michenzo coming now in to finish fourth. So I do feel for everyone, say, DNFing or having technical issues. But what a brilliant showing from everyone out there tonight. Artak Vicic still holding the fastest lap for the LMGT3s, but Vincenzo into fourth place. Gasson now coming through to finish lap, and he'll be in fifth. Then you'll have Adam Rios in sixth place, not too far behind, only a few seconds, and Jordan Forte also in the vantage, going to be in seventh. Matt Keys currently 8th, with Drury having crossed the line already in 9th position. Stijink confirming his 10th place, and Artek Vicic in 11th. But now up to the line anyway, as Gasson is set to now complete. You can see the Donut King not having his chance in the sun today. LMU is very strict when it comes to its timings and its server timings, unfortunately, so you don't always get the chance to fully celebrate, but here we go anyway. Gasson into 5th place, with Rios just crossing the line behind in 6th. Forte coming across in 7th, weaving his way across. And then last driver to finish will be Matt Keys, as Stijink has confirmed his P10. They slaloming his way through. Gotta say, really impressive stuff. Really great running from everyone out there today. I mean, in particular, of course, the GT3s had a lot of fights sort of spanning start to finish. You had the hypercars who really did sort of open up the gates, and the LMP2s that found their own pocket but were ruthlessly consistent all the way. It's been a brilliant pleasure to commentate for everyone here tonight. Say, I've absolutely loved it. I'd love to do more of these in the future. I'd love to touch base with you guys over at DGSR in the future, because this has been really, really fun. And that is where we wrap it, folks. All drivers have now finished the race, and now it's going to be a closing roundup as everyone returns to the pit lane, and the session is at a close. Schlichting, Reese and Mishral complete your hypercar order, top 3, and then Lovric with Borgso and Zhonkov with your LMP2s. Then it's Ramsey, De Vries, Barham, Michenzo and Gasson to complete your top 5 in that group, along with Rios, Forte, Keys, Drudring and Stijink with a final finisher of Artek Vicic, and then everyone behind that unfortunately DNF. So Richard Cook with the last lap DNF, Cooley also dropping out earlier as well. Guard, Wilson and Kingsbury are going to complete your LMGT3s along with Andy Hillier, and then it's Borgerson with a car issue, Starkey with a technical issue, Wilson unfortunately I don't think managed to get out on track, and then Quinn as well. Then it's Hillier, of course, was mentioned, with Reed, Moffat, and Vin here too. But that is where we wrap things up here for today, folks, because the race is over. The event is done. Now, in terms of exact points, we're going to have to wait a little bit for any kind of reporting to come out in regards to what happened between races. Of course, as with any event, a lot of the standings here are provisional, subject to any kind of inquiries, any kind of penalties, anything like that that needs to be adjudicated. But you want to stay tuned to at least one of the groups. So, of course, if you haven't done so already, we do recommend jumping in either the DGSR server or the GRDC server, because when all the results get finalized and a winner gets crowned, then you'll want to be here for it. But anyway, for now, folks, this is where I sign off. My name's been Ben Sapsford, It's an absolute pleasure to get involved with these events. If you enjoyed the commentary, then be sure to join us here on Mondays with Joseph and Max for LMGT3 Challenge. You can join me next Wednesday for the Invitational, the final round, and then, of course, any future events on the horizon. But not going to spoil anything just yet. For now, anyway, folks, take care. Once again, thank you, and good night.